sad. I mean, it's terrible, but it's.
Oh, Karina.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, Dr. what was your name?
Beerling. Suzanne.
I'm separating.
I wanted to ask, like, I know this is not really vague, but I am really interested in what you were saying about biological materials from childbirth. And I guess this just sounds super general, but like, is there any other like information or specifics that you might have time to like share with us about like what exactly that entails?
Okay, questions about the commodification of women's body parts for sale?
Well, I live in a part of California. Biotech is huge, biopharma, life sciences, regenerative medicine. A lot of women give birth in hospitals, and everybody signs everywhere a stack of releases, and so you don't know. You just say, "Oh, this is medical waste." It doesn't even come up. I don't even think anybody remembers. Whoever's giving birth, you don't even remember that coming up as even an option or anything. So you sign whatever, you're in labor, and you're everything that we have is in a lab somewhere being studied and being applied and being used. As we speak, Alzheimer's is being looked at. And then there's something COVID, I forget the name of it, but it's not one of the vaccines, but there is an antibody that you can take. It comes from the placenta. So it is buried. When you get into medical journals and start reading medical journals, you start to understand that everything that we have is marketable. It has a dollar sign attached to it. It gets put in medicines. It gets put new techniques. When they say stem cell and all of that, that usually refers to various parts that come from us. Did that answer?
Yes, yes, I appreciate the additional depth. I just find that to be really interesting and disturbing.
Absolutely. Just listen to what's being built in your community. In our community, we have a billionaire who sold one of his pieces of real estate to a life science center. We have a mall that it will no longer be a mall. It'll be biotech, biopharma, life sciences, and so forth. And so that is a major part of where we're going. We've just never been told. We're grappling with this, and I brought up something that has been happening. So as women, we have to look at the big picture.
Thank you for helping paint that picture.
I weirdly have a follow-up question to that. Can women opt out of that? Can you not consent?
Yes, what's happening is more and more upper middle class and wealthier women are starting to save the afterbirth material and even store it in like a bank, a bio type of a bank or blood cord bank. And some women are doing interesting things with the material, drying it and such. But there's a growing awareness. So now there's almost like a class divide. And so poor women in public hospitals have no idea. Like there are women literally, they give birth, they'll go to the street, the child might be taken into child welfare, and the material goes over to biopharma and life sciences with $1 million street value. Literally.
Yeah.
Do you have any ideas about how women can combat this? I mean, shouldn't they be getting paid for this stuff in the hospital instead of having to pay for their births? Or making the public pay for births through our tax dollars? Shouldn't they be getting paid?
Absolutely. But what are women told? Oh, this is for the greater good. This is, oh, look what you're doing for humanity. Look what you're doing for science. So women get that patted on the head kind of a thing, if you're able to bring it up. And so we have to push through that and get on the offensive and push through that and say no. And I hate to make it sound, I hate to say this, but show me my money. Run us out. You know what we could do? Can you imagine what we could do? End homelessness, build peaceful living environments for everybody. And it shouldn't even be a thing. When you look at the stocks, when you look at biotech, biopharma stocks, that nobody is playing around. $100, $200, $300, $500 a share. Everybody is happy and laughing all the way to the bank off of the biological material of everyday woman. And it also makes me worry about girls that are told, oh, okay, you're gonna go through this surgery to now become a boy. I say, wow, what's being signed away in those documents? Your eggs, uterus, other things. Are families signing this biological material away and we don't even know it? And then there's a little girl's eggs being used in surrogacy, in stem cell research. I mean, these are real things. If you think people are gonna hold back on making that kind of money.
It's really disturbing because when girls do that, they sign away, they don't think about what they're doing.
Right.
I mean, it may be an old-fashioned concept to some people, but these are the ancestral bloodlines. These are our DNA bloodlines.
Absolutely.
And my other thing is, has anyone ever tracked or done FOIA requests on, what, like, from a woman at birth, ask a hospital, what did you receive or who did you sell this to? Has that ever been followed?
Okay, the question was, is there follow-up? Like, do people track, what companies this material is being sold to? Well, I'm looking further into that. I mean, definitely the information that I learned from this doctor, and also with surrogacy. I started doing research. Where is the surrogate's placenta and umbilical cord and all of that going? So, when I look at my community, there's all kinds of biotech and biopharma companies, and I'm sure material gets passed along there. But a direct line and all of that, not yet. But I'm sure people are gonna start searching.
Yeah, Alicia, and then I have the woman behind you.
Our question is kind of, did you see Alicia me first, right?
Yep.
Okay, hi, Alicia. Our question is kind of a piggyback on that. You're talking about pay us, right? These are my body parts, pay us, pay. I get that. Follow the money, I get that. But isn't that like further modifying women's bodies? So instead of like, the pharma getting paid, I'm getting paid, but it's still a transaction. Isn't that problematic? Thank you.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if men had these body parts, they'd be like, you know what?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I feel like if this is what's happening, we need to be the owners of the science. We need to be the owners of these companies. We need to be the owners of our destiny. Okay, so we have over 200 cancers. We have Alzheimer's disease. We have these things, and these medicines, it goes into insurance and insurance compensation and all of that. Under no circumstances in a capitalist environment should all this money be going around. And I know a long time ago, because my undergrad program is just everything was just science, and futuristic science. And back then, this has always bothered me since undergrad. So I was really grateful to be able to articulate that to you today. But I remember my professor saying, well, we wouldn't want it to get out of hand. I mean, women could have 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 babies for this money. So it's really more ethical to just contribute your, to just contribute your parts, you know? And so nobody asked you to make that decision for us. We weren't part of a national conversation. No one can remember, right? So let us participate with that. You don't tell us what to do. Don't treat us like we're these cute little benevolent beings out there for you to make decisions for us. Not when you're gonna go and then now it's $1 million street value. Okay, I'm sure our society could work something out so that it's not so raw and tacky and transactional, but we live in a capitalist society and money is going around. Women are the ones that are in poverty. The majority of the homeless are women and children. Something should be done, but we should be in the decision-making seat, not a panel of men patting us on the hand. And no Serena Joys, Aunt Lydia's, and Mammies either. You know, us, sovereign, powerful, strong women, making the rules about how that goes.
Arla, you have a question?
I just want to recommend the book if people want to see a case documented very well. You're probably aware of it. The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks.
Oh, yes.
Can you say the title of that book again?
The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks.
Immortal Life.
Immortal.
The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. She was a Black woman with cervical cancer, and the doctors, thank you for bringing that up, and the doctors discovered that her cells never died. So the cells are just immortal. They just keep living and living and living. So those cells are the foundation of all types of medicines, not only for cancer, but also health and longevity and all types of studies. And you have universities. What's the university that it's tied to?
Johns Hopkins.
Johns Hopkins, that's
and
right.
it turned into a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Multi-billion-dollar industry, and the family has no money. You're like, my goodness, could you have just given them a couple $1 million, which is cheap, but it's her cells are the foundation of a multi-billion-dollar industry. And the woman who wrote the book, I don't even think shared some of the money with the family. So you see, if allowed, people, it's very painful. Like her family is like begging the university and begging the author to be able to go to the dentist. Like, this is how poor this family is. And this is the woman's cells that just won't die. Well, that is ruthless, raw capitalism. And if somebody can leave you out, they will. Like, that's a rule of thumb with capitalism. That's why women have to own. And I mean it spiritually, but I also mean it legally. Women have to own so that we are, as they say, the shot callers with how it goes. If you just say, oh, they'll think of something good for us now that we've made them aware, that will not happen. They stepped on Henrietta Lacks' family of $5 million. They could have just went, here you go. Even that cheap payout would have been wonderful for that family.
Can't set that precedent.
Right.
But my goodness, so thank you so much for bringing that up.
Right before I came to this conference on Friday, I had a doctor's appointment, and their office is very good against transgender. I've known them for decades. That's great. They're on the stage. One of my doctors was telling me that he was having a conversation with a surgeon like this, Seattle, well beside the Seattle, Bellevue, etc. His friend told him, it's so easy to a double mastectomy. He said, I I get paid $26,000 by Kaiser Permanente per double mastectomy on young girls. Quote, fresh quote, as name transfers into Seattle was having stuff. But I've read that they just consider it breasts of the girls, but now I'm hearing this, they're using the tissue as well.
26,000?
Yes, per.
I just paid 13,000. How can that be?
Because I have his name, he operates with his community at Carolyn Point and Bellevue. I give you his name. Kaiser Permanente pays him insurance. That's what he gets. No, I was shocked. That's why they're doing it.
Twice as much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
that's the
insane.
east side. If it's south center, it's cheaper.
Got a question out there.
Yeah. Final question.
Okay, so this is really general, so just take it as you will. All of you talked about things that I think aren't really discussed a lot. People don't want you to know this information, whether that's history about women.
Areas
or
we get your head here.
Sorry. All of you were talking about things that isn't necessarily easily accessible information, whether that's about women's history or medical industry. So I was just curious, where do you think is the best way to like find access to those resources? I know I mostly get my information from friends or my own specialization, but I was just curious because I never necessarily know where to look for it.
The question is about where do we get resources?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think we have to understand what we're up against in terms of the media. The media does not want average, ordinary Americans to hear what we've just been talking about. They really don't. And, you know, if you can get me a spot on Anderson Cooper, I'm there in a second. I want everyone to know the truth about what we have all been talking about. And I have yet to come up with a strategy to get the information out there. If anyone has a strategy for getting the information out there, that's one of the things this movement crucially needs at this point. It is absolutely crucial that we get the information out there so that people can access it. But the media really doesn't want to do that. So I don't know the answer to your question. I'm sorry. I would love it if somebody does.
It would be good for us to consolidate all of this information, though, because it was very powerful. We took it back to the Bronze Age, into the future, and every industrial revolution, and all the different veins of patriarchy, right? What we're experiencing, this is a new layer, but all of it. So it's an excellent point, because we have to pass the baton to you. Every generation has to, have some understanding, so.
Jenna.
May I just kind of answer that with regard to what I was saying in the workshop earlier?
Gina, I want to make sure that your words are captured for the recording, so do you want to come over here and take the mic?
I'm sorry to take the mic.
No, you're good.
Today I gave a workshop, and it was one of the things that I said, and I asked everybody to look around and look at everybody in here and all that we have in our collective knowledge and the time and years that we have spent. It's really hard to compile all that in one place. So I really just encourage you to continue to attend, show up, listen, and have the conversations. I've listened to Dr. Beerling 3 times. I'll listen to her every time, because every time I learn something new. I've had conversations with her. I've spoken with Kara so many times. Like, I will work with her, I will do anything. I will listen to all of these women over and over and over, because I learn something every time. We can't replicate that, because it's hundreds of years of, if you add us all up, this is how much time that we've spent on this. I've spent 7.5 years, you've spent, I don't know. You know what I mean? We have lots and lots of experience collectively, so please, women, continue to join each other and meet each other and share what we know.
Yay. Thank you, Gina. All right, Shauna. I think what we're gonna do, Shauna, last question.
No, you had asked a question, I believe, on how we can do that, and I think to add what Gina just said.
Come on.
Get that lady a microphone.
Okay, yeah. I just wanted to add to the question that you asked about how could we do that. I think us all being in the same room, I think us with our phones, doing another form of media. So, you know, folks, I'm in media. There's other people that have just got their phones and recording, because I think it's not just getting on the big media, CNN, Fox, but it is a combination of that. A combination of that and doing our own media sources, because people are starting to question, not wanting to hear what's on, because they know they're being lied to and misled. So it's really important for us individuals who can do writing, who can do media, who can do, you know, whatever, getting that word out there as much as possible. That's what I want to say.
Yeah, I do too. So hold on, Kat, I'll let you add just 1 second. The other thing I want to add is the other thing that we are doing, and we just did yesterday. We put us out there right in front of that prison. How many people drove by? How many people drove by when we were on the Pacific Bridge? So that's another way, direct action.
Yeah, I think Aries, what you were saying, I think I was hearing you say though that some of the topics that we were talking about are very dense and wordy, and where do you find information about these types of topics? Is that what you meant?
Partly. Yeah.
Partly. But I just want to reiterate how important it is for individual women to start researching stuff on your own and going to primary source documents and looking to see exactly what they say, because it's all out there in the open. There's nothing hidden about this. Their plans are stated very clearly. But we are dealing with new technologies and algorithms and everything designed to keep this information away from people, right? So we know that we're being engineered through technology, through the internet, through social media, that they're controlling and censoring the narratives about everything, and that makes it all the more important to go and yourself go and look exactly what they're saying, because they are hiding it through technology, but they're also very openly, blatantly stating what they're doing.
Is this all related to the United Nations new webpage, new addition to this webpage called the New World Order?
I've seen that.
Have you seen that?
Well, yes, it's related to it, of course, because the new, the fourth industrial revolution, which we are transitioning into now, is a total restructuring and reordering of the economy and how things and people are valued. That's why our worth and our value as women is changing now. And it's directly related, what the UN is doing, everything I was saying. They're a huge international force in pushing this, because the new global order that is in the process of being created will be one in which, like I said, it requires and demands female erasure. So yeah, it's absolutely, definitely. There's I also have, in terms of it, trying to, and yes, I will definitely.
About the UN. There's a good website called UN Watch.
UN Watch.
UN Watch. You will be surprised who is sitting on the human rights. Okay. So just so everybody knows, UN Watch.
Yeah, UN Watch. UN Watch is the website to check out. And I was just gonna say one more thing. There are plenty of resources that have already been accumulated and documented by women in this movement that have been doing this work for a very long time. And you can find them just going onto any of our websites or anything. You can find compilations of resources. I have resources on my website, on thedeprogrammer.com. I have resources on Stop Female Erasure. It's for more general audiences. Like if you have friends and family, or you know people that are not willing to talk about this topic or find it too controversial, or they just, oh, I don't want to get involved, I don't want to know anything about it, like a lot of people are. There's information there that is for a very, very, very general audience. But yeah, check out resources that already exist, because there's tons of stuff already out there. Like when I came in, and someone else was saying that yesterday too, Gina was saying how she was asked for a list of resources and she was looking into something and then she thought, oh, Wolf already had all these resources compiled, and a lot of the work has already been done, and we don't want to just be spinning our wheels and trying to recreate the wheel. Definitely look to the women that have already been doing this work.
Joey.
Something going back to this UN issue, what's really interesting, I know Carrie, you were involved in the call that a bunch of us were on. It had to do with the UN thing and that guy that was German. I know that, I don't know if you could speak to that, but it seems like that would be good information. It was very updated in terms of how we watched woman after woman trying to type in frantically these questions to these people. And of my generation, the lead guy was German, and I know, and I was looking up later that in Germany, they're like leading this. I know that in Berlin, they have a huge push around the transgender stuff. And so the whole thing that we were watching is this conversation that was supposed to be about, I think, in a way, women's rights and then transgenderism. But it was about the pushback, their pushback about the pushback on transgenderism. Everybody that was asking questions, they shut us all down. They shut everybody down. And I think, yeah, Carrie, you could speak to that.
Well, it's good to call attention to that. And so, because there's this new thing I'm seeing creeping into language internationally, and I'm not gonna remember the phrase, but it's gender something, gender extremist or something. There's a phrase that they are using to refer to us, gender abolitionists. And this is a tactic that they use to link gender critical abolitionists in our movement with the far right. We know that they do this in the US, of course, but it's becoming very clear globally that they see us. They know we're here. They know we are in fact not the far right, and they're lumping us in, but they're also calling attention to the existence of the global movement to abolish gender. So that's something to keep your eye out for. So I think we're gonna bring things to a close, and if everybody wants to stick around, where is Heather with the stickers? Oh, okay. Oh, did I miss something?
I don't have a million stickers.
Hold on, I think I might have missed something. Elizabeth, did you, what's going on? Sorry, everyone, if you can just bear with us for a minute. Okay, come on up.
Great job. Okay.
If you don't have enough people, I can talk to you. These people just came out from the gym. And they won't do anything because I've already sent my time. They're just waiting for me to go away.
Can you all hear me?
Sounds good.
Can you hear me? Okay. My heart's racing. You're good. You got it. Yeah, no, it's crazy to be here. I never thought I would be a TERF. Can you raise your hand if you know a young person under 18 who identifies as trans? Okay, yeah. So I'm Elizabeth. I'm 24. Yeah.
Get closer to the mic.
Okay, I'm Elizabeth. I'm 24. And for 7 years, I was questioning my gender identity. So that was 2012 to 2019. So I was like 16 to about 22. So I had a really happy childhood. My parents, they didn't push gender stereotypes. It was pretty much like, just do you know, pursue your interests. I was a total tomboy. I did find feminism when I was like a tween, and I was kind of like obsessed with the second wave. I thought they were really cool. I thought there was still a lot of work that needed to be done.
And then I remember in 2012, I was on a writing forum for teenagers, and there was a cluster of girls that were all starting to identify as men or as non-binary. And at about the same time, I was realizing I was gay. And I remember just sitting there in front of my laptop. I spent way too much time on the internet. I was wondering if I was attracted to women because I was supposed to be a man. And basically, my mind just kind of rolled with that. I have obsessive compulsive disorder, so that's what bothered me for the next 7 years. It was a really classic case of rapid onset gender dysphoria, so like, the dysphoria came after I learned what being trans was like. So I would look at pictures of surgeries, I would try to figure out, do I want that done? And when you obsess about your body like that, like of course you're going to make yourself uncomfortable. You're going to give yourself dysphoria. So I got stuck in that. I got stuck in the circular logic that if a woman is anyone who identifies as a woman. I got stuck in the logic that if you think you might be trans, you are trans. Let's see. Oh, the other thing that really threw me off was that the men who say that they're women, their idea of womanhood, it's makeup, and it's hair and nails, and it's being like an anime girl, and I'm like, well, that's not what it means to me. So like, am I non-binary? Am I a man? Like, I didn't know. I started to feel like I was just stupid, like maybe I just didn't, like I was missing something. There were always little holes in logic that didn't make sense. I did come out in 2013. I kind of clung to my conclusion that I was a lesbian because it seemed like the most true thing, like grounded in reality. I started college in 2015, and by the time I graduated, about 90% of my friend group was trans, and this was in Iowa, so it's not a very woke place compared to other places, I guess. This was just like, I was a journalism major, I was a creative writing major. Nothing that you would think would be super crazy gendery woke. I met trans ID students who had medicalized in real life for the first time, and I started to see that the transition, it didn't always go like they wanted it to go, so that was something that I guess gave me pause. Yeah, I started hearing about TERFs. I didn't understand why they were so angry because I was told, this never happens. There's no men in the women's bathrooms. Let's see, sorry. No. It's very culty. You become terrified of thinking the wrong thing. There was one night, I was just dicking around on the computer. I was supposed to be doing homework, but I was on YouTube and I came across a Magdalene Burns video. And I watched 10 seconds, and then I closed the tab, because I was like, you're not supposed to listen to her, she's a Nazi. There was a whole bunch of stuff, you weren't supposed to read. You weren't supposed to read Germaine Greer, you weren't supposed to read Andrea Dworkin, you weren't supposed to read Adrienne Rich. You can read Audre Lorde, but that's on thin fucking ice, you turf. Right, they have. Yeah. I guess one thing that maybe sets me apart, I never socially transitioned, no pronouns or anything. I basically kept it to myself because I was I don't want to speak it into being, So I told one friend, and she still identifies as trans all these years later. It's been 10 years or something. And then in spring of 2018, I realized I hadn't thought about gender dysphoria in a while, and I was but I still haven't figured out my gender identity, so I'm gonna figure this out, once and for all. It was a horrible summer. I was really depressed. It was really suicidal. There was something on the news that said the lesbians hijacked London Pride in 2018, and I was like, okay, well, these women, they don't seem super violent, so like maybe there's something to what they've been saying. And there's also a woman I have to thank. Her name is Diane. She's not here, but I followed Pink News, like I was subscribed to it because I was super woke back then. And she would be in the comments posting links to like "this never happens" and all that. Sorry, my throat is dry. And I started to look into that, and I was still like, you know, mustn't look at that propaganda, but it was starting. Fuck, I turned off the microphone, sorry. Started to join some turfy meme groups. So I was still like kind of committed to the idea of true trans, I guess. Like, you know, maybe some people shouldn't have transitioned, but maybe I should. And then, I guess, you know, maybe as a result of, so I studied journalism and was big on getting all the sides of the story. I mean, maybe not anymore, but we didn't have a woke journalism department. They were actually trying to teach us. So I started to realize that, like, if you want to change people's hearts and minds, and keep in mind, I still thought TERFs were awful. So I was like, I'm gonna change their minds. If you want to change people's minds, you need to meet them where they're at. Thank you. You need to listen to what they're actually saying, and not what people are saying about them. So like, don't pay attention to this boogeyman that's been created. Like, actually go and see what they have to say. And I found the gender critical Reddit, which they shut down. I miss it so much, but I found that, and almost right away I scrolled down a tab, the sidebar, and I found Posey Parker's Adult Human Female billboard campaign, and it was like the scales just like fell from my eyes. Like right away I was like, you literally just need to be an adult human female. Like that's what. You know, that was very much in line, I guess, with how my parents had raised me. They're not radical feminists, but it's just like, you're a girl, and you can do just about anything. There's some things that you were limited to, you know, like men can't give birth, but pretty much just it doesn't matter how you dress. It doesn't matter what kind of career you have or who you love or any of that. If you are an adult human female, you are a woman, and like, literally, it just clicked, just like that. And since then, I read and learned so much about radical feminism. I lost a lot of my friends when I spoke out about this. Like, I was really bored when we first like locked down, so I started turfing it up on Facebook, and I lost like almost everyone. But, you know, I just wasn't gonna lie anymore, and I realized that I had been completely lied to about who TERFs were. And I just wanna say I'm just really grateful to you all. Like, please never stop speaking up. You never know whose mind you're gonna change, you never know what seeds you're going to plant. And like Magdalene said, it's not hate to speak the truth.
Elizabeth, you got some better friends out of it. Elizabeth won't tell you this, but she's also absolutely hilarious. She has one of the best senses of humor of anyone I've ever encountered. Okay. Oh. Gotcha.
Hey, I'm Karina Pearl, Karina Danabelle. If you wanna, look me up. Oh gosh, I rocked it really hard last night, so my voice is totally messed up. But I'm not gonna start like spitting any garbage at you right now. But I'm talking about garbage the band, not like trash. So growing up, I was always pretty gender non-conforming. I won't say like tomboy. I've always been really a huge bookworm, and I know that that isn't necessarily like considered a very like tomboy type thing, so I'm not going to really put myself in that category, but always very awkward, kind of a loner. We were talking earlier about the gifted kids, and we were talking to Lynn, and you always feel like, I don't want to call myself a gifted kid, that feels a little narcissistic, but yeah, I am pretty gifted. Anyway, it was pretty clear probably to everybody that I was probably gay early on, and I was actually outed like for certain when I was 12. And at that time, I got some pretty unhappy pushback from my church. For the most part, it seemed like I wasn't getting like a bunch of hate. It was just sort of like, Karina, you're going through this phase, and I think that we could probably really help you and help you figure things out, and you don't need to figure out who you are yet, which also seemed really weird given that somebody else had outed me. I wasn't telling everybody, oh, this is who I am. Somebody else decided that it was their job to make sure everyone knew. But my dad actually went through my closet and just in a very reactionary way, he threw away all of my boy clothes and made my mother and my sister take me shopping for girl clothes. And I feel like to me that was one of the most, I feel like that was really damaging to me and really set into place some serious black and white thinking. Because in my kid brain, I say, okay, well, you're telling me that because I'm a girl, that I have to wear girl clothes. So if I want to be comfortable and wear clothing and have a presentation that is comfortable to me, then I guess that means that I must be a boy. So I know that a lot of people think, oh gosh, my kid must be thinking that he or she is trans because they're dressing in such and such way. If the immediate reaction or thought is like, oh no, keep them keep my boy from dressing in girly clothes, or keep my daughter from dressing in boy clothes, that is the most terrible reaction possible, because you may be imprinting in their brain that, yes, you are trans, and that's really not what you want to do. Anyway, going on from there, I did come out to some people as trans around that age. I had some teachers who, I didn't end up coming out to my parents as trans at that time, but not long after that, when I was like 14, 15, I ran away from home because of all of this. I don't share too much about this with a lot of people, but I am deciding that I want to let people know that I have also struggled with porn addiction and very early exposure to pornography, and I think that also was had a huge negative impact on my neural pathways, on my ability to relate sexually to other people and to myself. So that, I think, should never be discounted, how deeply damaging pornography is to children and teenagers. Thank you. So it's a really hard and personal thing for me to share, so I appreciate all of your support. So later on, I think, I guess there were a couple other things I wanted to mention, is that I had a girlfriend at that age who she was also sort of questioning her identity in that. She was struggling with anorexia. Fast forward to the future, now she has completely transitioned to male and she's working as a therapist transing children. My nephew, he lost his housing situation and was having some other, I don't want to go too much into his personal issues, but that he ended up having to live with me, and I helped take care of him while he was trying to get a job and get clean and everything. A couple years later now, he has decided I'm an unsafe person, and that I can't be communicated with. My entire, his mother and his sister, none of them will talk to me anymore. I'm an unsafe person because I've told them that I have concerns about their children being transitioned, because I have, personal experiences with recognizing that, that gender just isn't true. But I think that for me, one of the biggest, other than the very obvious toxicity that I experienced from being in trans and queer spaces, which I clearly don't have enough time to go into that very deeply, but that being its own thing, I think that ideologically, one of the main turning points for me was recognizing that I constantly, as a feminist, or thinking that I was a feminist, you hear the words that gender is a social construct. And I would keep repeating that, and I thought that I believed that and understood what that meant. But I didn't, because I still believed that a man could be a woman or a woman could be a man, until I started realizing that there's only one of two things can be true. Either gender is an internal and innate part of you, and that would make it real, materially real, or it's a social construct and it's not real. You can't have both things be true. So I think that was one of the main points that finally got drilled into my head, that I thought I understood something and I really didn't. So I appreciate all of you for being part of a community that helps to take the veil away and really reveal what this is and how damaging it is. So thank you.
Awesome, Karina, thank you. So for anyone who would like to participate, now, do we still have Heather with the stickers?
Yeah.
Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know, Marion Miller is a Scottish woman who has been arrested and charged with a hate crime, and her crime is standing up for women and girls in Scotland. And I can say this because she's very public about it on Twitter. This has been an incredibly stressful time for her. They keep bumping her hearing, and one sort of wonders why, but they keep doing it, and this is being held over her head. She has young children. This is just a really difficult time for her. And in other words, she's been charged with a hate crime because of her speech on behalf of women and girls. And so we have these stickers here, and we'd like to do something. We'd like to offer something to Marion. So these stickers, Heather's gonna hand them out to some people.
I don't have very many, so we'll just have to.
Okay, so we've got a handful. We won't all get one. That's okay. A bunch of us can have them. But across the top, let me start here. Across the bottom, they say "Sovereign Women Speak," which is of course the title of our event. Across the top, they say #WomenWon'tWeesht. Now, for anyone who doesn't know what this means, "weesht" is Scottish vernacular essentially for "shut up." So for months now, Scottish women have been all over Twitter tweeting #WomenWon'tWeesht, and they mean it. They are not shutting up, and neither are we. And so at the bottom it says "Sovereign Women Speak," and across the top it says "Women Won't Weesht," and in the middle it says "I stand with Marion Miller." So this is a statement of global solidarity for women here in America, in Scotland. Sovereign women speak, women won't weesht. That's gonna be our chant for their thing. Okay, so we'd like to offer a little video snippet to post around social media of all of us. I would just say a few quick words for Marion, dedicated to Marion, and then we do a chant. Sovereign women speak, women won't weesht. Sovereign women speak, women won't weesht. Okay, are we all in?